Season 2.
Welcome to Rage Against the Mainstream, your full spectrum source for all things music, insight, and opinion. My name is Bill, and I'm joined here today with Connor and Steve.
Yep.
Hello.
So today's date is January 27th, 2020. Have you guys encountered anything new or interesting this week?
I think we all have.
Yeah, you too, Connor?
I know what you're referring to, but I chose not to listen to it.
What was it?
Songs to be murdered to?
Yeah, the new Eminem album. What came out a week or so ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I listened to it. I know, Bill, you've listened to some of it. Connor, you're still in that. I've
Not
heard of
listening
it.
to.
Yeah,
I'm over Eminem.
yeah, and it's a shame because he's like one of those artists I have such high respect. It's funny, when the album came out, I was driving around with my sister. I was listening to like the Eminem show, and I listened to a couple songs off of Get Rich or Die Trying, the documentary with The Game. You know, all those like older songs that like featured him or were his, and like I just remembered how good it was listening to that in the early 2000s. Being a white suburban kid, like having Eminem talk about my life, it was pretty fucking cool. But dude, I'm not gonna go out there and say this album's like great or anything, but I enjoyed it. The sad thing is, it just has Eminem's name on it, so I had a different expectation.
Yeah.
He features some good artists on there. Like, I mean, obviously, Royce the 5'9's on there, Young M.A.'s on there. There's a song with Juice WRLD on there.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Juice WRLD.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Still don't know who he is.
Yeah, I don't either. But he's on an Eminem song now, so that's how I get credit. I wonder if there's like people out there like, wow, like Juice WRLD like featured Eminem on a song. Like, you know, like I wonder if that's like a thing.
I wonder if it's one of those things where they had that song like pre-recorded and like just like on the back burner until he died. And
yeah, like, oh shit,
you know
I guess
what,
we
this
should
is
put
perfect.
this out there. Yeah, you know.
Where do you guys rank this? Like, it's just worse than this Eminem album and just better than this Eminem album? Or is it the bottom or the top?
I mean,
It's closer to the bottom.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's better than Revival.
I think they're like the way we talked about this before. I think there's like two eras of Eminem. It's like
about,
after Encore and everything.
What about Kamikaze?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's in that same category where it's like Kamikaze, Relapse, Revival, even
Recovery.
Recovery, Revival, yeah, Recovery.
I think Kamikaze's better, in my opinion. But then again, I've had more time to like actually listen to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the singles off of Kamikaze. I thought they were pretty good too.
yeah,
I did like the one single off of Kamikaze better than anything I've encountered off the new album.
yeah. I mean, there's that one song he does with Ed Sheeran on this new album, and it's like that generic song. Like, all right, I'm gonna rap, and then I'm gonna have Ed Sheeran sing this really like nice, you know, higher vocal, like catchy hook, and it's just the same kind of repetitiveness. But again, like I think there's like a whole different thing with Eminem now. It's like that era after Encore and before it, and like to put this, like it's just another Eminem album of his newer shit.
What my whole beef is with this album is I almost feel like there's no like features on it that are like
Good.
in quotes worthy of being on an
Royce the
Eminem album.
5'9".
Yeah. But like that's like the exception.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, even Royce the 5'9", you only hear his name come relevant when Eminem does something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sad reality of it. I mean, back in the day, you figure when like Eminem was doing shit with like
Eminem
D12
kind of
and
ruined him in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, my problem is I just don't think there's like enough talent or you know whatever in the rap game now to be even able to be like, oh, I'm on an Eminem album. Like, what's that
kept
even
seeing-
mean?
Produced by Dr. Dre. Was it actually produced by Dr. Dre, or was it executive produced by Dr. Dre?
I think it was produced by Dre. Give me a second here. I'll look it up on Spotify.
Because my opinion with Eminem has pretty much fallen down to if Dr. Dre produces it, it's usually not bad, and if he doesn't, it's usually not that good.
It's also, too, you figure like with him featuring some of the rappers he does on there, it's not like he can bring out certain guys like, you know, Lil Pump, Lil Uzi Vert, and like all these dudes because he's
Didn't Lil
already.
Pump die?
No.
Oh, I'm thinking Lil Peep.
That's Lil Xan, Lil Peep, and Lil Xan, and all them
Lil
dudes.
Peep.
Yeah, Lil Peep, Lil Pete, Lil Pump.
Comrade Pete.
Yeah, Pete Pump, same difference. But it's like he can't even go out there and get some of these artists that like right now have that commercial success and that in the rap world today, because he already went out on a limb and like talked all that shit about these mumble rappers. So to get anybody of like, I don't like, and these guys aren't even good rappers that are out there today. So it's like he can't even go out there and just get them just to keep his name relevant.
Curry, Denzel Curry.
Yeah, he could do that.
Well, here's
There you
something that's
go, I'd
funny.
get, like Dave East.
Cruising around the Wikipedia page for this album,
Yep.
Metacritic gave it a 61 out of 100.
Did
Sounds
Dre
about right.
produce it?
Well, this is what I was getting to.
Okay. Here we go. Here's the
Mm.
fine line.
No one gave this thing an above 3 out of 5 stars.
That sounds about right.
Except for the Daily
6.1.
Telegraph.
Oh, that's
The Daily Telegraph gave it 5 out of 5, but I don't think that's right.
Daily
See, I
Telegraph.
hate when people do 100% or 5 out of 5 star reviews, because then you're telling me,
The Eminem show must be like 200%.
yeah, like once you give something a 5 out of 5, you've already set the bar for yourself. Like, what's a perfect album to you?
It's definitely not music to be murdered by.
Never mind.
Here's the produce.
Right? Where's that fall in his spectrum of stars?
Dre did produce this album,
Yeah.
along with
I know.
The Alchemist, Mark Braston, Andre
That means he's the
Brisket.
executive producer.
DA
Yeah.
got the dope for Guarantee Millions. Fred, Skylar Gray, Eric Bluetooth Griggs, Dem Joints, Trevor Lawrence Jr., Daywan Parker, Mr. Porter, Ricky Rax, Louis Resto, Royce to 5'9", and Tim Subby. Along with
he was the
Eminem.
executive.
Yeah.
He was the overseer.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, too, and we've talked about this before. You can tell when Dre's involved with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe like 1 or 2 songs you can hear some like bit of like Dre-ness.
Yeah.
Dre's not going to spend the time to sit behind the boards the whole time during an Eminem album.
Hell no.
When he's got other shit he could be doing to make him way more money than the
Exactly.
Eminem album's going to make him at this point.
And it makes you wonder too, like if there's anything that he does that he's not credited for, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think if he was on there doing shit, he'd be getting more credit.
Yeah, but do you think like maybe he like produces these newer rappers and like he doesn't put his name on there just in case it's total
because
shit?
I don't think
beyond
he's that
him,
guy.
it's like, for instance, this packaging of this album. If he was the full-on producer, it would say new album produced. Like it would be like on the
produced by
album,
Dre.
like big and bold, because that's what people want to hear. Em and Dre. That's literally the story. That's the myth and the legend of Eminem.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, if any other artist was like, teaming up, what?
Here's the thing. On Kamikaze, it says Dr. Dre was an executive producer, but it doesn't say executive on Music to be Murdered to. So, I mean, it's a Wikipedia.
It might have been a production or a promotion thing.
Yeah. Because
possibly.
honestly, you just don't hear any of the Dre, like, you know, like
but it's
the
also too, you're
idiosyncrasies in
hearing
there.
the difference in the style where it's like, I mean, it's 2020 now.
Yeah, they don't
I mean,
do
there's
G-Funk anymore.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
different style of like way these artists are putting out music today, and you got to kind of keep up with.
They should do G-Funk.
Yeah.
Well,
That's how Eminem sounded the best.
Yeah.
I
That was
agree.
like Eminem show.
we're just like a
Yeah.
small majority, though. I mean, we can sit here and talk about like the old school sound and everything like that, but it's like there's still like millions of people out there who like love listening to Extension and those artists today and that style. And
Yeah, I
it's
feel like
just-
we're a dying breed.
Yeah, it's even the rap scene in general. Like it's just changed, and it's sad too. Some of these guys have like I've seen them like on interviews, and they would show pictures of like like Nas's Illmatic like album cover, and they would ask these guys who are like famous rappers today, and be like, "Yo, do you know who this is?" And they'd be like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And it's like, and then there's a couple of guys I'll be like, yeah, they're like, that's Nas, that's Illmatic, like, of course. And then it's funny that some of these rappers, like, you figure they don't have the same respect and understanding of roots to understand like where rap really came from to develop a sound today to kind of like reflect of what it used to sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You figure like when
I agree
Nirvana
with
was
that.
making tunes and like all these bands were making tunes, Black Sabbath was making tunes, they all had like certain level of respect and understanding for the music that came before them to evolve that sound with the same homage, as opposed to trying to reinvent it completely and starting a new sound that's just kind of not
Developed.
talented. It's just not talent. It's just
Yeah.
it's like anybody can do this.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, at some point, it gets so muddied down
Yeah.
because it's like, Eminem drew his influences and someone influenced Eminem who was, then that person got watered down to influence this guy and so on and so forth. And now you have it to where it's,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, okay, let's feature you on an Eminem song.
Pretty much.
Music is in crisis.
So yeah, just the general consensus about that, like the 6 out of 10s and the 5.5s out of 10s, like I can totally get with that.
Yeah.
I think it's
Give it
average.
a 6 out of 10.
maybe a 5.5.
Okay.
I think it's
I'd give it
average.
a 5.5.
5.5.
Like I
5.5
said,
or
anything
6.
over a 5, like a 50%, it's worth a listen because you could develop probably your own opinion behind it. Like it's definitely worth the listen. But like to me, it's like if it's on, I'll listen to it. But I'm probably not gonna play start to finish this album ever again.
Yeah, well,
like
I mean,
intentionally.
let's just give it time because this literally just came out. I mean, like I said before, I wasn't a giant fan of Kamikaze when
Grew
it
on
first
me,
came out, and it grew on me.
Yeah, I always keep that in the back of my head. Like I'll probably listen to it, but again, I'm never going to be like, all right, I'm going to listen to this. Like when I listened to it the first time, I was like, I'm listening to it from start to finish.
Yeah.
Had to hear it. So another time, I might put a song on, and if I happen to be busy and the album plays its way through, it's probably the only other time I'll listen to this album completely.
On this day in music history,
All right, 1962. Elvis Presley's "Can't Help Falling in Love" is certified gold status.
I fuck with that song.
Yeah.
500,000 copies sold in the U.S. of A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I really like this
Not much
song.
to say about it. Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah.
I mean, those like this falls in that category of like the greatest hits.
I'm not familiar
Yeah.
with this one.
I can't help falling in love.
Okay.
With
Well, but yeah, you
you.
once you hear it, you'll yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad. 1971. David Bowie arrives in the United States for the first time, not to perform, but to do a series of interviews. He creates a stir by wearing a dress to many of the appearances.
So funny story about David Bowie when he was
I'll remain silent from here.
first coming out like that and kind of like shocking people with his looks. So there's this whole Beat generation of writers. It was like Jack Kerouac. It was Allen Ginsberg was a very famous poet. William Burroughs, who was in the movie Drugstore Cowboy. He was like very famous for a couple of his novels like Naked Lunch and stuff like that.
Did a single with Kurt Cobain.
Nah.
William S. Burroughs,
Well, yeah, he did. What did he do though?
the priest they called him. It was a spoken word.
That was it.
recording.
That was it. He also was featured on something else, I think, with another band. But Allen Ginsberg was super gay. And he came out when David Bowie was like doing interviews and stuff because the way David Bowie was like presenting himself, and they got like in a fight because Allen Ginsberg was pretty much like, "You're not even really gay," like getting really like pissed off because the way he was like portraying himself like that. And obviously, when he came to the United States, I mean, here's this British dude like kind of dressing drag, and he's like super popular like overseas. I mean, it was like a fucking shock to the United States and like American culture.
Didn't him and Freddie Mercury like fuck around?
That's rumored. That's not.
I'm pretty sure it was in one of the
Under
books.
pressure.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, there was other kinds of pressure going on too, by what I've heard.
This is the
I
rumor.
was referring to the hit song,
Oh,
an inspiration for a rap phenomenon, Ice Ice Baby.
That led to the greatness right next to Ding Dong being that of a
Oh,
hit
yes.
single.
1973, Stevie Wonder's "Superstition" hits #1 in America, where it stays for 1 week. Surprised that was
Only
only
one
number
week?
one.
Yeah,
for
I was
a
gonna
week.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, then again, it's like
It was more competitive back then. There was
Well-
more good music coming out.
that's true. But then again, at the point in time, people probably didn't see Superstition as we would see it now. Like I'm pretty sure you can remember when you first heard that song. You're like, whoa,
Some commercial,
was it in a commercial?
probably.
Yeah, it sounds like
Pretty sure I heard it on like 98.1 or something, and I was like, man, this is really cool. My mom's like, yeah, this is Stevie Wonder.
B101. Yeah.
The opening drum beat's really fucking cool too. It's like what drive. Like this shit's just awesome. It's just got a groove.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder's the man. Where's our biopic of Stevie Wonder?
Yeah, really. I just always think of Ferris Bueller. Ferris said, "If I die, to give my eyes to Stevie Wonder."
Yeah. Oh yeah, in the whole way.
Yeah. 1979, Keith Morris, Greg Ginn, Chuck Dukowski, and Brian Migdal play live for the first time under the Black Flag moniker in Redondo Beach, California.
I'm a huge fan of Keith Morris Black Flag.
Yeah,
I
prefer
love
Keith
Nervous
Morris
Breakdown.
to,
Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
I forget the
It's a
other
shame
singer
they
they
didn't do
had.
an album with him.
Yeah. Well, they have the Nervous Breakdown EP. There's a couple
Yeah.
songs on there. Yeah, full
And then
length.
I think that did the original Six Pack EP have him on it, or was that
No, that was Henry because
Okay.
Six Pack was written with Henry Rollins,
Yeah,
and that was
okay.
pretty much about Keith Morris being a loser and an alcoholic and a fuck up. But honestly, I
That's
mean,
what it
Keith
takes
Morris going
sometimes.
on, yeah, because then he goes on to do Circle Jerks, and that first album, Group Sex, that they did was fucking excellent.
Yeah, I prefer their music in the 80s over Black Flag.
Yeah, like Black Flag, because Black Flag got super weird after Damage, because then it was like, My War, and then when it got to like that spoken word, he got to a lot of more.
Again.
Yeah, and then he had Family Man, which it was like 8
Yeah.
songs, half of it was spoken word, and the other half was instrumentals. It was super fucking weird, but I mean, I enjoy Black Flag with Henry Rollins, but more times than not, I listen to a lot of like Keith Morris stuff, because again, like Nervous
It's more
Breakdowns.
unhinged too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like totally like more of that scene.
Well, I know during like the whole spoken word thing when like Henry first started, like there was a lot of tension in that band because of that.
Yeah,
I heard Greg Ginn's like a total asshole.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like weird.
Yeah.
They got Robo on drums. I remember he left too, and he drummed with the Misfits for a bit.
Yeah.
With I think Michael Graves was there at the time.
I think
when
he was
went
like
there.
smoking
No,
weed with
Dr.
his
Chud
son
was
or
in
something
when Graves was in.
Yeah, but I thought Robo toured with them after Chud did the Famous Monsters album. I'm pretty sure Robo toured with them before they released the that like Project 1950 album.
I
or
do know
whatever.
that Robo was touring with them when it was Jerry only.
Oh, it was Jerry Only. That was it. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Jerry Only,
I was
man.
gonna say I'm pretty
That
sure
was
that
it.
Dr. Chud was in there up until Michael Graves left.
Okay, yeah, because then they went and he did Dr. Chud's whatever,
Yeah.
his own band. But yeah, Keith Morris, Black Flag. It's like kind of like Iron Maiden for me. I like them both, but prefer Keith Morris, his vocals over Henry Rollins, to be honest.
I agree. 1990, Soundgarden becomes the first grunge band to make the Billboard Albums chart when Louder Than Love shows up at 168. It peaks at 108 in March.
It's
Yeah.
surprising it stayed on for that long.
Yeah. You're not a fan of this album, are you?
No, I like it.
I like this album
Yeah,
a lot.
It's
really-
not my favorite.
This is the first album I bought from them that I actually owned. Because I think we went to Best Buy one day when I was like actually collecting CDs, and I looked at Soundgarden. They didn't have any of them, and I had never even heard this album. And I bought it and I listened to it, and I was like, all
Hands
right,
all over the shit.
yeah. All right, I fuck with this. Yeah, this album.
There's some good stuff on it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
definitely-
not. I didn't like. I might have said something like that before, but I wasn't a big fan of it getting into Soundgarden. But as I got older, I started really digging Louder Than Love.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
But it is probably my least or second least favorite Soundgarden album.
What would you say your least favorite Soundgarden album is?
Either King Animal or whatchamacallit, Down on the Upside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do like Down on the Upside, but
I like
I like all of them.
I like King Animal a lot
yeah,
too.
I like all of them, but it's tough. Like the worst Soundgarden album for me is like an 8.6 out of 10.
Yeah.
to me. You know what
I wonder
I
if
mean?
that dude would give it 5 stars. What
Well,
was his name?
Like Super Unknown's
Metacritic.
10 out of 10.
Was
for
it
me.
Metacritic?
yeah, Metacritic.
Metacritic was the one who gave it 5 stars. I thought it was some specific guy.
I would give Super Unknown 10 out of 10.
Super Unknown's a good album.
I'd probably give Bad Motorfinger like a 9.3,
Yeah.
9.4.
Super Unknown's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, there's no denying how great those two albums are.
Ultra Mega Okay, I'd probably give like a 9.
Yeah.
1991, at the Speakeasy Club in Los Angeles, Dr. Dre roughs up Dee Barnes, the female host of a rap TV show called Pump It Up. Dre, who was upset over a segment on the show, later reached a settlement with Barnes, who filed a $22.7 million lawsuit against Dre.
So the lawsuit was 22.7
You're gonna take
million.
advice from somebody who slapped T. Barnes? What'd you say? What's wrong? Didn't think I remember? Oh, temper.
I wonder what they settled for it. If the suit was 22.7,
She would have settled for anything. She was really nobody at the time.
yeah. But
Like, I
that
think
could
she
be,
was-
It could have been as low as like $100,000.
but still even just
Still, yeah, that's a big hit.
I take
Yeah.
that.
When you're rich like that, I mean, he obviously deserved to pay something, but
Oh, 100%. Apparently,
you'll
he
get
fucked
sued.
her up.
Oh yeah,
Of course. Well, I think she had something to say about Straight Outta Compton, too. Like, oh, of course, Dre wasn't going to say anything about that.
Yeah.
what'd she say about it?
Like, that, of course, they didn't show that. Like, they made Dre look like, like the golden child. Like, he was perfect. That was, like, her biggest gripe with that movie.
Yeah, they didn't
okay.
add that
She's still mad.
level
Yeah.
of like, yeah.
She's still a little butthurt.
2013, a fight breaks out after Frank Ocean accuses Chris Brown of taking his parking space at a Los Angeles recording studio. Brown throws a punch at Ocean and threatens to shoot him, allegedly shouting, "We can bust on you too."
Where's the singer from the Meat Puppets when you need him?
Yeah, he's crazy son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, just took a bullet from the.
We're gonna
Security
fight on
guard.
parking spaces.
Yeah, was it the post office?
Yeah.
Fucking kid.
2014, Billy Joel begins his residency at Madison Square Garden, where he plays once a month as long as there is a demand. By July 2018, he hit his 100th show.
But fuck Billy Joel.
Oh shit.
We're not a fan of Billy Joel in this podcast.
Yeah, that shit he did to his drummer was ass.
Yeah, we haven't been a fan of Billy Joel in how many episodes?
It's since
Like
that
20?
Yeah, I mean since that that documentary.
He's an asshole.
I'd never been a Billy Joel fan. I always saw right through that piece of shit.
It's funny too because I always had like a because I remember when I heard this news about him playing there like this, and I just remember like seeing interviews and just kind of like videos of him and having that image. But then when I saw, obviously that entire Hired Gun movie and seeing exactly what type of person he really was, just I mean, yeah, fuck Billy Joel.
Yeah, fuck
End
him,
of the
man.
day, yeah. As a person, I mean, absolutely.
I mean, his music is undeniable, but just
I can deny it.
yeah, but you have to think though, dude. Like, think of like Piano Man and shit.
Never a fan.
Really?
Never
Scenes
liked
from
that
an
song.
Italian restaurant, Only a Good Die Young. I mean,
Nope.
there's a lot of songs, but that's the thing. It's the same thing with Journey. I respect a lot of things for Journey. I just don't like their music.
Yeah.
I can respect it, but there's a difference with like Billy Joel because I'll still respect his music. Comes on the radio, depending on what else is on. Like if the only options are Ghost, Nickelback, and Disturbed, I'm probably gonna listen to Billy Joel if it's on the radio.
I'll turn the radio off if those are my options.
You really
I'll be
don't like
"God
Ghost
damn
that much?
We're not gonna get into this. That's a different subject altogether. Fucking don't. But anyway. Yeah, like, but him as a person, like, there's just the whole, like, that was just, it goes beyond, like, any, like, allegations of, like, criminal offense, because then that's just, like, more disheartening that you literally had no respect for your band like that. These guys, like, put in everything they asked for you, and, like, as soon as you had an opportunity to move on to save some money, you just,
Yeah,
whatever.
piece
Like,
of shit.
that's like sociopathic shit. That's like how serial killers, when you hear about them in documentaries, that they're able to just cut people off without any fucking care.
Yeah.
Those guys fucking did everything for you. The one guy, you couldn't even give him a goddamn plane ride home because you wanted to put your feet up.
Jerk
Come
off.
on, yeah, dude, for real.
Music news. Today in music news, January 27th, 2020. First thing we got here is All Time Low launch a beer collab with Perfect Throwback inspired name. All Time Low teamed up with Full Tilt Brewery to create a new beverage called Beer Maria Count Me In. It's clever. It's clever. This isn't the first time the band ventured into the world of food and beverage. Last March, the frontman Alex made a sweet investment with the company. They came together to have a night of music and fun on January 20th. On New Year's Day, the company had announced online at All Time Low would be making an appearance at the brewery as guest bartenders would also have their own performance. They would be serving their new blonde ale named after one of the band's most popular tracks, Dear Maria, Count Me In.
Never was a fan.
The-
It's a popular thing for me today.
Um,
I don't like this.
It took a while for me to like All Time Low. I'm
fucking
not gonna
Scrooge over here, just like.
Nope.
What are we talking about? Led
Next.
Zeppelin 3? Move on. God damn it. We had an episode where I talked about like pop punk being like a guilty pleasure. I didn't even mention All Time Low. I'm not a big fan of All Time Low, but this song, I think it was just because that's just like a nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
Because I just remember like when I heard it. I mean, at the time I was dating an individual by such name of the song title, and also
Dear?
yeah, we could say that.
Okay.
Count?
Yeah.
You were dating Count Olaf?
She wore a robe and everything. But yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. I think that's like a cool like marketing thing. I mean, I don't know how big All Time Low is out there in the public scene.
I don't know. They did sell out Wembley Stadium.
I always
They sold
preferred
out
Cartel.
Wembley Stadium.
Fuck yeah, it's
When?
a special. It was 2015 or 16.
fuck
It was on
outta
MTV.
here.
No bullshit.
Wow. All right, so there you go. Boom. That beer will probably sell.
I do like blonde ales.
What is a blonde ale, honestly?
It's like a lager, but like lighter,
Yeah,
Hmm.
pretty much.
kind of.
Yeah.
More full bodied though. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't
More of a
drink
Pilsner
alcohol
guy
or
myself.
do drugs.
It's not too far
Here.
off from a pilsner.
No,
No.
I'm gonna have to try this.
You guys enjoy that. The state of New Jersey doesn't allow me to drink.
I don't enjoy drinking. Drinking enjoys me.
Next thing in music news, you could chill on stage with Post Malone in a yacht suite at Bootsy's Super Bowl party, but it will cost you $150,000.
I'm good.
Post Malone will be the top liner at the Bootsy on the Water pop-up event on January 31st, a one-night rager in Miami, and a custom-built 40,000 square foot tent on the bay that will also feature music from DJs Zach Bia, Lucian, Fred Matters, and Irie, and a promise of special surprises throughout the night. Runs from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Won't be cheap. Shared lounge tables start at $1,000 with upgrades including a 13-person private yacht with VIP access for $15,000, a bump to a first-row VIP table with 15 guests at $30,000, a 12-person helicopter experience with a first-row table for up to 12 for $65,000. The ultimate package will be on stage 80-person, 125-foot yacht suite for $150,000. What's this sound like to you?
Fire Festival. First of all, I want to know where this money's going. Who are you paying?
Yeah,
Post Malone? Does he really need it?
dude.
Yeah, I don't like anybody that much.
Like, where
No.
are you? Yeah, dude. I mean, even like if it was like, I mean, I might pay to like hang out with Kurt Cobain, but like, I mean, at the same exact time, I wouldn't
Maybe
pay
like $30.
65 grand to go.
30
Like,
bucks.
what kind of conversation are you gonna have?
Well, this is 1990s money we're talking about.
And- but
$30
it's also-
is a decent amount.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, $10 ticket back then was like, ugh, I don't know if I could
Well,
break the
$10
bank.
ticket was fucking pit.
I know. I don't know if I could break the bank with $10 ticket. But yeah, I want to know where that fucking money's going to.
Yeah.
Like, who are you paying to do this? And B,
Illuminati.
yeah, for real. Like, that's going. I don't know, man.
Like, honestly, you'd have to have some serious shit. Like, Post Malone could headline whatever, but
Yeah.
you need to have, like, Eminem performing Eminem show in his entirety.
Yeah, and like Margot Robbie would have to suck my dick for 65 grand at this party too. I mean, this is just fucking crazy. Like, I don't know.
And Tarantino's got to direct it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's got to be a lot of feet in the mix. Women's feet would be nice. Fun thing. But
That's just crazy.
it's funny. I'm thinking about this now because with the Super Bowl being in Miami, I didn't even really think about the like what may happen as a result of that. And obviously, this is one of those things where you can get like pop artists to just be able to exploit the opportunity. Like, hey, a couple days before the Super Bowl, come on out, and we'll charge you 65 grand. And then this is the thing: you get dumbasses who are the same people that have to buy the new iPhone every year just for some general principle that'll spend this money just so they can have a couple photos on Instagram and do it for the likes.
Bro,
I
we're
mean-
talking $150,000 for 6 hours.
Yeah, like what is that?
Like, when you put that into perspective, let's see. All right.
And it's hold on, let's break down the math though. You get that much money, right? $150,000, and then like let's say it's a 12 people for the table with the helicopter experience, the whole works, right?
Yeah.
Of those 12 people, I guarantee you 80% of them will get blackout drunk before like the 6 hours isn't even remotely up.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have just went to a bar where they're serving $2 Pabst Blue Ribbons and like had just as great an experience, but you're losing out on the opportunity for photo ops. Like that's really what this comes down to. Why would you spend this amount of money to do what exactly?
Then again, dude, we're
The
talking about
Roaring
this.
20s. We got it back.
We're talking about this shit, but then again, we're also remembering the Fire Festival and how much money people paid for that shit.
Probably can
Yeah.
get ready for
And
a
they didn't even
very
have Post
depressing
Malone.
30s.
They only had Blink 182.
I think they backed out before it even
Yeah.
started getting built.
I mean, I just think this is ridiculous. I wish I had this much fuck you money to be like, you know what, 150 grand for 6 hours.
I wish no one had that much fuck you money.
Yeah. Yeah, if I got 150 grand to just blow on 125-foot yacht with Post Malone, I probably wouldn't even be in a position to think about spending my money that way because obviously I'm pretty educated and I'm doing something with my life.
Dave Grohl would have to hang out with me there.
I don't even think that would be a tipping point. I I don't really think there's many people out there in the world that I would want to spend that amount of money with. And if you could find 80, like, I mean, how does this work? A Groupon? I don't even have 80 friends.
Well, no. It says, all right, so 13
You could get 80
person.
friends real quick if you had this shit going on. in your
You gotta
day.
be like, hey, you want to be my friend? You got to chip in $25.
No, they would just come. That's how you
You
get
gotta-
80
if you
friends.
build-
Oh, if I
They will
if I
come.
pay for the whole thing? Yeah, okay.
Yo.
I'm gonna buy 79 people right now, dude.
Just post on Facebook, like it'll happen.
Searching for 79 people to join me on a 125-foot yacht with Post Malone in Miami a few days before the Super Bowl. All you have to do is show up and act like you like me.
You might have to
All expenses
tell
included.
Post I'm cool.
you
Spared no expense.
might have to reactivate your Facebook for this.
Yeah, I might have. This will be the reason. Yep, you heard it here first. I'm going to reactivate my Facebook just to put out in a public post that I'm spending 150 grand to go hang out with Post Malone. Need 79 individuals to join me.
Do you miss Facebook?
No,
No?
not at all.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't.
No news or anything? No news outlets you miss or anything?
No, I mean, because I use like NPR or Google things. I get like Apple News that causes me to spark to go look for specific
National
things.
Petroleum Radio.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you had that on in the car when you picked me up.
I like to see what the enemy's saying.
Okay,
Keep your enemies close.
true.
Last thing we have here in music news is a sad one. Neil Peart, drummer from Rush, dies at age 67. The drummer and lyrical voice of legendary Canadian progressive rock band Rush passed away. Rolling Stone reports that Peart had succumbed to aggressive brain cancer at age 67. Rush's official account shared the news, asking fans to donate to a cancer research group or charity of their choosing and sign off with "Rest in Peace, Brother." Peart replaced original Rush drummer John Rutsey after the release of the 1974 self-titled debut album. Since the release of the band's 1975 album, Caress of Steel, Peart not only assisted in writing the trio's huge musicianship, but was also responsible for much of the band's lyrics as well. His work with the band encompasses 19 studio albums and 11 live releases. He was also a prolific writer whose 2002 memoir, Ghost Rider, Travels on the Healing Road, was acclaimed by both fans of his band and literary fans.
Yep, once again, not a fan, really. Sorry.
No?
Nah, even Neil Peart's drumming, I think it's a bit busy.
I'm gonna say not a fan. God, here we go. Another. Just check that off the list. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Rush in general, the band, but I'm gonna tell you right now, just not to be on like the same generic thing you hear about Neil Peart and being like how great he was. That was literally the one thing that drove me to Rush. Like if I'm gonna listen to Rush, and it was before like I really understood the hype behind him and like the notoriety he had. But his drumming alone is really there's I don't know. I look for
He's
a
a
specific
professor,
thing in
dude.
drummers and just how precise it is, and just like when you hear the fills and like just how great some of this drumming sounded. Like that's literally what like I would listen to Rush for. Like there's no Rush songs out there where like, wow, I'm really enjoying this fucking song, other than the fact of like, oh wow, that was a really cool drum part. Oh wow, that's a really cool verse. Oh wow, that's a really cool drum part there too.
Yeah.
Like
in recent years I've gotten into the Rush catalog and I have liked what I've heard. I mean, it's not like I went through 19 fucking studio albums and shit, but I picked out like, you'd be surprised the amount of fucking singles that band had.
yeah.
Like you'd be surprised. Like I remember sitting down and just going like, okay. And it's just like, boom, by the time it's said and done, they have a greatest hits album of nothing but singles.
Yeah.
And I mean, like them or not, they're an interesting band, and they're definitely originators.
I don't
and
hate
they're
on
innovators.
Rush fans.
No,
Because I do. It's one of those things where I do have the respect for them. It's just not my cup of tea.
yeah, that Geddy Lee's voice is definitely an acquired
I think
taste.
that's what gets me, honestly.
Like if they had, then again though, I don't think that band could exist with another vocalist.
I don't like the fantasy
That's what I'm
the
saying.
whole progressive
just the
aspect.
but it's like progressive in like a weird way because I'm like a big fan of like progressive sound.
I like Yes.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Like yes, King Crimson even like after Bill Bruford
Dream
went
Theater.
over there, Dream Theater. I mean like Symphony X. Like there's a lot of other like progressive like sounds out there where it was like more like desirable as opposed to Rush was almost like I don't even know how to like put it. It was almost like Foreigner like journey of like the progressive era. Like it was just, I don't know. I think it's also too because like how many times have I fucking heard
Tom Sawyer,
exactly. Like
Way
it's
too
just,
many.
oh my God.
Yeah,
And
I
like that's
agree.
what it always comes back to. So then every song I hear, like I immediately like that, like all the noises and everything. Yeah, dude. But again, it's just his drumming is like undeniable. That was the thing about it. Like, and that's another thing. Like, again, with Rush fans, like I don't ever hate on Rush fans because they're not out there trying to treat Rush as being like the greatest rock band of all time or anything.
Yeah.
But Neil Peart is definitely one of those guys where it's like his drumming like is just so
100%. It's
it was that
undeniable.
good. Yeah,
Undeniable.
yeah.
Which brings us into our topic for this week. Recently, we have done a greatest guitar players episode, driven by the inaccuracies of Rolling Stone. But now we figure we expand this topic into getting into the rest of the band. We're going to start with the drummers this time. Does anybody have any particular drummers that they want to start this conversation with? Obviously, Neil Peart is going to be, the first drummer that we just discussed.
I
Yeah.
have him on my overrated.
Really?
Yeah.
I can understand that.
I
can
think
definitely
he's
understand
great.
it.
I don't think... I don't know. He might... Yeah, he's probably overrated, but... I don't know. You have to think about it though. For the time, like 1975, like when he showed up on that album, like that shit was different. Like,
I
he
don't know
was just a
though. If
different
someone
drummer.
gave me a 600-piece drum kit, I'd probably be all over the place too.
I mean, I can also like totally understand that because I think Neil Peart, before I really got into like any idea of like the actual musicians and bands, like I remember for a very long time the Doors were my favorite band, and like someone called me out, was like, name somebody else other than Jim Morrison, and I was like, fuck. And then that's when I really started like diving into the actual musicians of these bands and really started to take credit to understand like them as specific musicians. And Neil Peart was always that guy. Like I knew no other drummers' names. I may have known John Bonham and like Keith Moon.
Do you like Alex Lifeson?
Who is that? See, that's what I'm saying.
Guitarist from
Guitar
Rush.
player from
Yeah,
Rush.
exactly. I don't even know his name. I mean, I know nobody outside of Geddy Lee and Neil Peart. And
It's
here's
just Alex Lifeson besides them.
okay, there you go. See, I didn't know that.
You
And
do 2/3.
but here's the thing about that. Again, Neil Peart was always the guy where I think that's why I can understand the overrated part because he was constantly mentioned.
Yeah.
Like always as like, oh, he's the greatest drummer
Yeah.
of all time because nobody like I didn't really even know any other drumming, And then obviously it extends forward and you listen to other drummers and you start to understand better. And then like I listen to different bands and then you have like the metal genre, then you have the rock genre, then you even have like drummers for like certain rap bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Questlove's an awesome drummer.
Yeah.
That he is.
You know what I mean? And then you go throughout that. And I think that's the reason why like I can understand Connor with like the whole overrated concept. But it's again, like when I listen to like a certain artist and I say they're overrated, I actually can feel it. And for some reason to this day, even so, like I can't say Neil Peart, in my opinion, is overrated. I think he's like right there.
I got a couple more overrated if you're interested.
Go ahead.
Barry Mullen Jr. from U2.
Oh yeah.
Overrated.
Well,
right?
we've talked about this before about like when he should have left U2.
They should have just broke up. U2 should have been done after Vertigo. They should have been like, all right, we had a last hurrah.
We
But
talked about
maybe
that
do a
with
swan song after that, but right around there, they should have gave it up.
Yeah, we talked about that when the dude from Rolling Stones left. Wasn't it?
No, there was a U2 one. I think the drummer left.
Well, like in
Now REM, the drummer, left first.
I don't know. I'm going to have to dive
Yeah,
back
we
into
have
the
to look back
archives.
on that because
I'm pretty
talked
sure we
about
mentioned
this.
something in Music News and we brought up U2 that he should have left after.
Oh, that's what it was
such
because we
and
brought up
such.
the iTunes thing.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, talk about a drummer that should have left the
yeah,
fucking band.
that's it. Yeah.
My bad.
I've also got Keith Moon
As what?
Ooh,
overrated.
Really?
Yes,
I think so. I'll
Yeah.
agree with you on that
No
one.
way.
and then Taylor Hawkins.
I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
You think he's overrated?
a little bit.
I don't feel like
He's
people
like-
talk about him at all because I feel like he's
People talk
overshadowed by
about him,
Dave
man.
Grohl.
Yeah.
He gets talked about because he got that blessing from Dave Grohl where it's like you're okay
Yeah.
to fill my shoes.
Well, that's the
And
thing
I think he's a
too.
lot more generic than Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
But
He's like he could be a pop drummer. Like
yeah.
Well, he was. He was in
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette's
he
band.
doesn't have much of his own style. I feel like
Yeah, actually, when you go to think about it and you like you play through like the fucking Foo Fighters discography in your head.
Foo Fighters kind of entered their like shittier period when he joined. Like I think he's that voice in Dave Grohl's head that's like, dude, let's like go into another part here and like turn this song into a giant shit show.
And what album? What album was he actually on? One by One.
That was the first one he was.
That was the first one he was on. Yeah.
He might have played on half of There's Nothing Left to Lose. I can't remember.
He definitely wasn't on the first two albums,
No.
and those are the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he played half the drums on There's Nothing Left to Lose. But that could have just been Dave Grohl being nice.
Yeah.
Like it could have just been all Dave Grohl.
We should sit down one day and like analyze like the drum tracks from that album and
each,
hear
yeah.
which one
See
was
if we
Dave.
can figure it out.
Yeah.
So Connor, I know you've been more so on the pessimistic, grumpy side today since you started out with your underrated or overrated list.
I have some underrated.
I was going to
as
say,
well.
do you have any drummers that you actually enjoy?
Levon Helm from the band.
Okay.
Okay.
You're saying underrated or
Underrated,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mitch Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yes.
Matt Cameron, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam fame.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with that one.
And John Bonham.
John
I mean,
Bonham.
not underrated, but favorite. I
Good.
guess.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you had like a level where it's like you can like agree with them being told how good they actually are.
See, the problem with Matt Cameron, dude, is everyone knows how good he is, but everyone always talked about Dave Grohl.
I was just going to say,
that was
Dave
the
Grohl is like the
Soul
giant-
sucker.
He's like the drum,
the
the
genres.
grunge soul sucker.
I was gonna say,
the
Yeah.
grunge drum soul sucker.
but that's
That's
also
true.
the thing when
Yeah.
you said like, how can you say like with like Taylor Hawkins, like I don't really think he's mentioned so much. It's because Taylor Hawkins follows into that category of like being a part of that scene where he's not a John Bonham, he's not a Neil Peart, so he's not getting talked about. But when you put him in that scene, I mean, if you think of all those drummers from like those '90s bands that were up and coming, and obviously how fucking Foo Fighters has just become like we're going to tour all the time in your face constantly. I mean, Matt Cameron, if you put him, he's in the same scene. I mean, arguably, he's literally in the same scene as Foo
To
Fighters.
me, Matt Cameron is like a more developed John Bonham.
Yeah,
like a
I
less
mean, well,
raw and primal and
Yeah.
more like down the road.
yeah.
a bit. Like,
I think he's less technical though than John Bonham.
John Bonham, he doesn't do like the 3-minute like
That's what I'm
simple
saying.
things
Yeah,
and shit,
but I
you know
think
what I mean?
for band purposes, I think Matt Cameron was the most well-rounded
Well, I think
drummer.
I think Matt Cameron sits in a band really well. Like
Matt
he
Cameron-
sits
Yeah.
in very, very
Matt
good.
Cameron wrote Pearl Jam's last big hit, The Fixer.
That was
That
him.
was like their
Did write
last
The
like
Fixer.
big hit.
And then like with Matt Cameron too, dude, you hear like the fucking drums for fucking Spoon Man. Like
Oh, yeah.
like that shit is tight.
Yeah, and I'm sure he had a lot to do with the coming together of Spoon Man.
Oh fuck yeah. Dude, like that right there. That like when I think of Matt Cameron, that's instantly what I think of. That drum intro.
Yeah. The drums on Bad Motor Finger and Super Unknown are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that's my best of and worst of. I think I want to go back to Taylor Hawkins real quick. I think the reason I'm not too sold on his drumming is he likes drummers I'm not that crazy about. Like I'm not gonna say
like Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland's overrated, but not my cup of tea really. for
Yeah, I don't
drumming
think
style.
Stuart Copeland's an overrated drummer at
No,
all.
I don't think he's overrated at all, but he's not my style.
Yeah.
And he also likes Jane's Addiction a lot.
Mm.
And I like Jane's Addiction. I really like Jane's Addiction, but if I had to single out a weakest element of Jane's Addiction, they could have used some more heaviness on the drums, I feel.
I agree. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also too that sound of Jane's Addiction wasn't.
Jane's Addiction was super produced.
Yeah, it
and the
really
drums
was.
in that time period weren't the best sounding. It was like the transition from 80s reverby drums to 90s like
Yeah.
digital like trying to sound live drums.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I can totally understand that.
So I always just felt like the Jane's Addiction recordings weren't loud enough.
Yeah, especially that first album, because you
And
can
that's
tell
how
like their
Taylor Hawkins
heavier
drums are.
songs.
They're
Yeah,
not
Yeah.
loud.
their heavier songs aren't even like. Yeah, I can totally understand.
It's
what you
always
mean by
funny
that.
too, because when there's like interviews or whatever with Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl's always like, "Yeah, big ass drums," and it's like I haven't heard big ass drums on a Foo Fighters record since
Since the
fucking
first one.
yeah.
Really.
Nah, I mean maybe even besides Color and the Shape. Like, think of My Hero.
My Hero, but they're kind of compressed.
Yeah.
But
They are
didn't
definitely
Dave
compressed.
do drums on Color in the Shape?
Fuck yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
So yeah,
That's why they sound so good.
exactly, yeah. You're
William
right.
Goldsmith probably fucked that shit
Yeah,
up.
but Gil Norton did it, and Gil Norton washes everything in a bunch of effects.
Yeah. You know, I would have liked to have heard a version of Color in the Shape with William Goldsmith. Like, just to hear what it would have sounded like. Like, was it
how-
really
how
that
upset
bad?
Sunny Day Real
was
Estate.
Dave?
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
I always felt like William got a bad rap. Probably
Yeah,
wasn't so bad.
I just feel like maybe it was like a part of him where he felt like he'll never admit to it, but like he was always kind of like intimidated by Dave, and like that probably, you know, prohibited him from really experimenting and growing as a drummer.
Was
Well,
it
yeah.
playing it safe?
Yeah,
Just to accommodate for the album's
Exactly.
sake and what he was writing.
because like I mean, you think about
Well, it'd be
it.
like if Led Zeppelin broke up and John Bonham didn't die, and then John Bonham starts a giant band, and then you're trying to play drums for John Bonham.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Well, it's
trying to
also
put it
too.
into
You think about
perspective.
when Dave went into Nirvana. I mean, he was at the perfect helm of like them still establishing himself, so he could go in there and act however he wanted and really establish himself as a drummer. But yeah, Dave Grohl at his point in time for Color in the Shape, he's already got enough credibility where I would be fucking intimidated too if I'm going in there and
He was the biggest
mean,
drummer in the world for like the
that's
past
what I'm
like 3
saying.
years.
That's gotta
before
be-
Foo Fighters started.
yeah, that's got to be fucking. I can understand that.
Like there was probably no drummer that was more famous than Dave Grohl. Like everybody kind of knew what he looked like because he was on MTV.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
he was that Nirvana guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was
Why
probably
don't we
the
see
last
his
one to
face?
get recognized between the three.
Yeah.
In the Nirvana days,
Yeah.
because his hair was always in his
But
face.
then once he,
Well, that and because it was like you had Kurt, who was the front man, then you had Chris, who was like fucking 7 foot
yeah,
tall.
he's like freakishly tall.
Yeah, and then it's just like, oh, then there's the third guy. Little do you know, the third guy be making quite a stir in the music scene in the mid
third
to
guy's
late
made
'90s.
more money than any of them.
Yeah.
that's Courtney too.
So, you guys got anybody?
I wanted to say for the overrated, we'll start with the grumpy aspect, Connor. And I know Bill, you'll disagree with this, but I think Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses is super overrated. I think it's because again, when you talk about like weakest points, we talked about Slash being an overrated guitarist, but Appetite, Angie and Our Lies, both the live tracks and the acoustic tracks, I think Slash's guitar work enough is like more notable, whereas like there's nothing about the drums on it. Like even the intro to Rocket Queen, I mean, they're memorable moments of his drumming, but there's nothing on there. It's the same thing with like another overrated drummer like Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. I think a lot of it goes with like who the band is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah.
As who the band is, and then the guy who's in the band, where not only was Steven Adler himself a douche, completely, but it's just his drumming is just not. There's nothing to it that really can say like, okay, he's as recognized as he should be.
Now, do you feel like Matt Sorum is better than Steven Adler?
No, I don't.
You don't think Matt Sorum's better?
I don't think
But he
he's-
doesn't get rated much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's different. But again, I think it's also too. It's because of what Steven Adler's on. I think that's the issue. The
Matt
songs-
Sorum played on
Use Your
Your
Illusion.
Illusion, right?
Yeah,
both
but
of
that's
them.
also too. Both Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 to me are like more so of like the more commercial or turning commercial Guns N' Roses albums.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then also with that list, the last one I'll say before Bill, I'll let you say the other one that I had in mind, but Meg White from the White Stripes. I think
See, I think she has her own style.
but I think it's just too generic for that band. I think a lot more could have been done with what she did.
I agree with that. I
you
feel
know,
like there's definitely a lot of lost.
yeah,
space.
yeah. But for drummers that I really appreciate, aside from Keith Moon and John Bottom, I'm going to talk about Ginger Baker from the band Cream. I think Ginger Baker is probably for his time, probably the best drummer of his genre. Considering
I'll take Ringo.
you would take Ringo Starr
No.
over Ginger Baker.
Well,
Okay, was
I mean,
hoping
let's
that-
be real
you said
for a
it kinda
second.
serious. I was like a little nervous.
Well, let's be real for a second. Ringo isn't a bad drummer
No.
at all.
But dude,
Tomorrow
if you,
never knows.
Yeah.
When we talk about, because I saw a documentary, it's called "Beware Mr. Baker." It's on Netflix, and like you got to really see how much investment Ginger Baker put into like his craft, like the things he studied, the countries he traveled to, and like actually how good he was. I didn't really even realize it until I that was another artist where it's like once I started to understand the members, I went back and I really listened to like Cream's live albums, especially like the reunion show. and just how really just technical he was, how fucking good he was, how precise he was, and like how very, very intricate his drumming had been. And then it's funny because he's also got like the same style of a lot of drummers that I like from like more of that progressive sound, like with that jazz influence background with like weird time signatures.
Yeah.
Like Bill Bruford from Yes. After he released Fragile, he went on and moved on with King Crimson and made King Crimson the best they ever were. I mean, the album Red by King Crimson is probably one of the best albums for just drum tracks alone. I mean, I think Bill Bruford's one of those most underrated drummers because you don't really hear his name in the talks of like Keith Moon, John Bonham, all those guys of that scene, because I mean, he was putting out albums in the late 60s, early 70s between Yes and King Crimson. And then obviously, aside from Chris Adler, another favorite drummer of mine who's no longer with one of my dear bands, being Lamb of God.
No relation to Steven Adler.
No relation whatsoever. Not even in talent. But Danny Carey from Tool. And I talk about Tool a lot, and maybe I talk about Tool too much, but hey, that's okay. I'm all right with that. That's my Neil Young. That's my band that should not be named coming on.
I haven't brought up Neil Young in a while.
I know
you bring
you
up
have.
Tool
You
a
haven't.
lot more than I bring up Neil
Well,
Young.
because I saw him live.
Yeah, you
and
bring
I'm
up
super
Tool a lot more
fucking,
than we bring up any
gay
other
about
band.
Tool recently because I saw him live, and you know, I had an orgasm during like halfway through the set, unwillingly. But Tool, I mean, Danny Carey, I mean, they actually did a recent show back on. They started touring again on the 17th, I believe, and they did a thing for Neil Peart, and he did a drum solo for him. And what was the one song that's just was it 2112?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did all of 2112 at a Tool show. And I
That's
mean,
cool.
he's just one of those drummers where it's like, I'm glad he's kind of the guy he is. You only hear about him again the same way you hear about like Taylor Hawkins or like Matt Cameron. It's like if you're familiar with the scene, his name doesn't really get put out there as like one of those great drummers. So I don't ever say he's underrated because he is well known enough. But he's just one of those really technical, enjoyable drummers, especially for their sound. But yeah, I mean, I think those drummers definitely are like my top echelon.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm just going to break the ice here, and I'm going to say what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most overrated drummers is Lars Ulrich
Oh, yeah.
from Metallica. My opinion on Lars Ulrich is, for a band that's as good as Metallica and is on the level as Metallica, they should have had a better drummer by
They
at
should've
least the
ditched him
second
after Kill
album.
'Em All, yeah.
Yeah. Like, you think about all the drummers.
He probably like
From the
financed
thrash.
the band or some shit. and they couldn't
Exactly.
get him
Yeah.
out.
Like, there's
He's
probably some
like their Jason
contract in there.
Everman that they just couldn't get rid of.
Like, do you think, I mean, and you say like after Kill 'Em All, but do you think like, I mean, obviously Kill 'Em All was like the breakthrough. So like, let's say they
No.
give him no, but I'm saying like for them to like make their mark, right? That's where they started.
Yeah.
I don't think it was their breakthrough. Like,
Their
I know what you
breakthrough was
meant.
definitely Master of Puppets.
Of course, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So they do. Let's say they did like Kill 'Em All, right? And it was good enough. They got on the scene. They're having an album out. They're getting like the recognition. Then Ride the Lightning comes out, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, Cliff's still there. Dave's now like his writing.
Is starting to
credits
go
are starting
away.
to fade away.
Yeah.
But then after Ride the Lightning, they're like, all right, we need to revisit this.
Dave Lombardo.
Yeah. And they brought like somebody like, yeah, especially Dave Lombardo, who I didn't mention, who's another great drummer of that genre. He comes in
Yeah.
and they do Master of Puppets with Dave
Dude, it'd be
Lombardo.
fucking crazy. Could you
Right.
imagine Slayer's drums with Metallica on Master of Puppets? It'd be fucking insane.
Like, especially like Damage Incorporated.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! Or like even Battery.
Yeah, could you imagine Battery with an
Jesus,
actual
dude.
drummer?
I mean, because even if you listen to Dave Lombardo when he drummed with Suicidal Tendencies, he made them better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he drums with the Misfits, they sound better. I mean, he's just one of those drummers where, especially, he's like the Matt Cameron of the metal scene.
Yeah,
You put him
I agree.
anywhere on any of those thrash bands, and they just like, okay, who the fuck's that drumming? Let's do some
Another-
Slayer.
Another overrated one that you brought it up was Tommy Lee. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like Tommy Lee might be the most overrated drummer of all fucking
He's all
time.
about theatrics.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
literally it. That's why they need to have a fucking roller coaster when they play a show, because no one else gives a shit about anything that Tommy Lee's doing. Let's be real. That's why he's got a fucking 3-foot tall bass drum when they play live. 'Cause it's like, look at me. I'm Tommy Lee. I'm the fucking clown.
He's like
Yeah.
the Sid Vicious of drums.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah,
don't
that's a
get
good
me
way to put
wrong,
it,
though.
yeah.
He's not a horrible drummer by any means, but
He could keep a beat.
yeah. I mean, I think he's better than Lars, but
I
feel
wouldn't go
like-
that far.
I don't know.
I don't think he could do what Lars could do.
I don't either. I honestly think
Lars could
Tommy
do what he
Lee.
could do.
I think Lars and Tommy Lee are like the same type of drummer. Like they're just good for that band, and they just keep it like they keep it safe.
Yeah.
You know, Lars adds a little flair to it, which makes, and he's also playing Metallica tunes as opposed to Motley Crue tunes, so you can't really compare the two. But I mean, they're on like the same playing field.
Yeah, but however, Tommy Lee is actually a studying drummer. Like, he was in fucking marching band and shit. Like, he actually knows how to play drums. Like, he's not like a PhD in quotes drummer, but
like music, went to school for like music theory. And shit.
like he knows how to play. It just sucks that he's in the type of band that doesn't allow him to, you know, go through his full potential.
Yeah.
Another underrated drummer, and I don't know how you guys will feel about this one, is Alex Van Halen.
Underrated.
I feel like nobody talks about him because it's overshadowed by Eddie.
Yeah, but I think, again, I think a lot of drummers, it's a shame where you mention them and then it's like the band they're in, and I can totally agree with that, like the overshadowing concept, because I mean, there's so many bands, and like I guess it's because he's not in the band to be like the face of it, obviously, even though he's his brother, and then he's obviously part of that band. But yeah, I mean,
Uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Alex.
Yeah. But it's like, you're not really listening to, because I mean, even when I knew Van Halen, I knew Sammy Hagar, obviously. I knew David Lee Roth, and I knew Eddie. I mean, it's like the same thing with Angus and Malcolm Young. You know, I didn't even really know Malcolm Young was the other guitarist in that band for a very long time.
Yeah, because Angus was the face.
Exactly. And I think that's where he, like, I don't know with Van Halen. I think it's because of the music. But yeah, his drumming is, you know, like the intro to fucking Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
I just, that's what you gotta bring up to give him props. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that shit.
That's his eruption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that shit is crazy. Yeah. And like, if you ever get a chance to check out the Van Halen concert Live Without a Net, it was in New Haven, Connecticut. There's a drum solo in there that it's fucking ridiculous. Like, it is like second to none, one of the greatest drum solos I've ever seen.
Okay.
Or heard.
I'll check it out.
I think another underrated drummer is Vinnie Paul from Pantera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not mentioned enough in like the greatest drummers, but you think about you think about Pantera, right? You think about the time period they came out.
Uh-huh.
You think about how like before their time they were, and not for nothing, you listen to the breakdown of Domination. Like, dude, like like, dude, that shit was beyond its time.
He's like what, when we talk about, you know, bands like Metallica and Motley Crue, when they have a drummer just to sit in and like be like, just keep the beat and
just
like,
be there.
you know, be there to like add a little bit to it, but you're not the John Bonham, you know, you're not the Bill Ward, you know, you're there. He was like perfect. Like, nobody else could have done that.
No.
I think there's a lot of other drummers you could have put in there that could have added more technicality to it, but Vinnie Paul was just perfect for that band.
Yeah,
that was the sound.
that was it.
Because every time I think of like Pantera, I think of like a steel mill, like just like a blacksmith, like grinding fucking fresh swords. Like, it's just such a heavy iron sound, and like Vinnie Paul's drumming just like gives you that. Like, Far Beyond Driven, dude.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my.
Listen to the intro of
dude.
5 Minutes Alone. Obviously,
Yeah.
you're listening to it if you're listening to this episode.
We're very sorry about the.
I mean, that isn't Pantera's 5 Minutes Alone.
We're talking about this Mantera 7 Minutes Alone track.
8 Minutes Alone.
8 Minutes Alone.
Mantera. But
Mantera.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like Vinnie Paul is one of those drummers, dude, where like obviously he's talked about now because he's dead. But at the point in time, no one was ever like, you know, who's a really good fucking metal drummer, Vinnie Paul.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's almost like a Phil Rudd situation with AC/DC where it's so simplistic that it's easy to be looked over.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's another Ringo situation to where it's like he does exactly what needs to be done in the song. Like, it's nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
And it drives it and it's done.
It's kind of like how John Densmore is.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I think Johnny Densmore was the exact same way. Because again, there's certain drummers, like you could have put other drummers in these bands and probably gave it more flair. But again, it's like you obviously would have heard it like how it is with those new drummers as opposed to what we know about it. So there would be nothing to compare it to. But I think again, like I don't listen to Pantera and like, damn, like I wish they had a better drummer.
No,
like,
fuck no.
I could listen to Metallica and imagine what they would have with Dave Lombardo. I can listen to Megadeth.
We heard it online.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave Lombardo played what? I think he played Battery.
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah, I think there's a live video of Dave Lombardo playing Battery.
I think, you did show me
and Joey
that.
Jordison played Seek and Destroy with them and
Yeah.
Enter Sandman.
Yeah, so it's just like the possibility of knowing it. But again, like Pantera is one of those bands where it's like you could put anybody beyond there, but it's also the same thing with Filthy Phil Animal from Motorhead. Like Motorhead's drummer was like the same way with Phil. It was just a sound that they were going for. They weren't taking crazy shots, but they were doing exactly what like I wanted to hear from them. They were giving like the fans the music they wanted to hear. But I think Metallica, they got a little more technical with Master of Puppets and Justice for All. They changed their sound and became more musically inclined, and like the drumming never excelled.
Peaking with puppets.
But I guess those are mine. I mean, some notable mentions, obviously like my drummer list is going to be more inclined to metal.
Yeah.
But actually probably another underrated drummer that's overshadowed by Dave Grohl is Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Like that dude's fucking undeniable, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
The intro to No Excuses.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, like that shit's so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's alright.
But I guess some notable mentions, Thomas Hawk from Meshuggah.
Yeah.
Insanely good drummer.
Yeah.
Insanely good foot skills.
Gene
Hoglan.
Wow, that's weird as hell. I fuck with
Gene Hoglan,
Yep.
extremely good drummer.
Very good.
Matt Greiner from August Burns Red.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Dude, he's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like that dude is nasty.
Yep.
Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater.
Yes.
Like those are just some notable mentions.
He also did solo shit with John Petrucci, and it's fucking excellent, too.
Yeah, and he was in Liquid Tension Experiment
Liquid Tension
too.
Experiment.
Bill
yep.
Berry. REM.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Bill Ward.
Yeah. Well, I
Black
mentioned
Sabbath.
him. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
you
Brad
mentioned
Wilk.
Brad Wilk.
Brad Wilk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's another one of those drummers that's like not like
Obviously.
super crazy,
But he's perfect.
he's like
He's
perfect for the
perfect
band.
for that
yeah.
band, dude.
He's not too far off for me from Chad Smith.
Chad
Yeah.
Smith's another one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can drop him into any situation and he'd be fine.
Yeah, Chad Smith was great for Red Hot Chili Peppers when they finally got
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Did you hear him in Chickenfoot, the band he did with Sammy Hagar and Joe Satriani?
Yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah, dude, he's good in that band too.
Yep. Yeah, and it's crazy because with that band, it's not your simple simple patterns and stuff where they were like writing songs that were very traditional. So, but his drumming wasn't even super crazy to the point where it just kind of flowed with like John Frusciante and like what Flea was doing. It was just that's another weird like band where it's like the drummer again just perfect for that band.
And obviously, we're all forgetting probably the most underrated is Will Ferrell. That time he did the drum off with Chad Smith.
I didn't even know who was who at some point.
Dude, isn't it
the
weird
skills
like how
alone.
much them two look alike?
Yeah, but
I'll
even
take
their
Chad
skills.
Overall.
I would
All right,
take
so-
Will Ferrell over Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah.
I guess so. What are we going to do? Do we want to do what we consider to be the most underrated drummer and the most overrated drummer?
Yeah, we can go around
I
and
feel like
just say
Tommy Lee we could agree on.
I can agree with
Yeah.
Tommy Lee being the
I
most
agree that
overrated.
Tommy Lee's
absolutely.
100% overrated.
And then I guess you're most appreciated but underappreciated in the public spotlight.
I'm stuck between Vinnie Paul or Alex Van Halen. Probably Vinnie Paul.
I agree. I can agree with
Vinnie
Vinnie
Paul.
Paul.
Because Vinnie Paul didn't have a hot for teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you
Yeah,
listen to Van
all right.
Halen out of your first
Yeah,
five
Out of
songs.
the
have
one of
voices
them.
that we
unique-
discussed today for underrated, like Levon Helm is great, but he's not so underrated. Same with Mitch Mitchell, Matt Cameron, and John Bonham. Like they do get props.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Cameron maybe a little underrated. Same with Sean Kinney.
I
suffering
agree.
from the Grohl vacuum, but yeah, all right, Vinnie Paul.
I can agree with Vinnie Paul.
Vinnie Paul.
Yeah, I can agree with Vinnie Paul.
All right, so you heard it here. Tommy Lee sucks, and Vinnie Paul's the fucking man. May
Listen
he
to more
forever rest in
Pantera
power.
and less Motley Crue, essentially.
Perfect. Last week, we suggested for you guys to watch The Doors, 1991, directed by Oliver Stone. The ratings on this film, Rotten Tomatoes go to 57%. The audience score was 79%. And Roger Ebert gave it a 2.5 out of 4. I feel like the audience score was only so high because of the fact that it was The Doors.
And Val Kilmer and just
Yeah.
This movie's kind of why I kind of stopped liking The Doors as much as I always did.
Really?
It almost did the same for me.
Kind of killed Jim Morrison for me.
Yeah, it did. And it's funny. So, backstory about this, I think I've told both you guys where Val Kilmer got the job for this, what they did. He actually sent in an audio tape of him singing Doors songs and sent the tape to Oliver Stone. He said it was a mashup of both, original Doors tracks as well as him with, audio recording of himself singing. So he told Oliver Stone, pick out which ones you think are me and pick, which ones you think are Jim. So Oliver Stone made his choices like half and half or whatever, and they were all Val Kilmer.
That's
so he
kinda
fooled
cool.
him into it, and like that I was like, okay, perfect. And then obviously he got the aesthetic, he got the look. But the problem was, I watched this movie before I really got into the Doors like I am today. So
Yeah.
at the time I watched it, I was like, wow, like he was a fucking just wild nut job, and like holy crap, like a rock star. Whoa. And I was like, then I actually read a lot of the books. I actually watched some more documentaries. I got more into their catalog, and especially the book "No One Here Gets Out Alive."
Yeah.
It's not completely historically accurate to a couple of flaws, but it's way more on point to understanding Jim Morrison than this movie ever was. And Oliver Stone really went out of his way to kind of make Jim look like a total, like just really like an asshole. Which, granted there were moments, but he wasn't like as fucked up as people really made him seem. And the fact that he was like, really portrayed as like a narcissist in the entire film, which wasn't the truth.
Yeah, he was just like an artsy, like hipster.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, he really rejected like the whole Andy Warhol scene. He like really got on them. I mean, a lot of people hail him as like the first punk, like next to like Iggy Pop and stuff, because just his like rebellion attitude and his, very anti-establishment ideas. And, even the whole scene in the movie where they do Light My Fire, and they told him specifically, like, you can't say, girl, we can't get much higher. They had to change that. And then like in the movie, they show him like directly look into the camera and say it, and everyone, like they really portrayed him as like he did that as a big fuck you, like I'm saying this
He was
anyway.
just nervous, right?
It was, that wasn't the case. He was actually nervous and just so used to singing that song live the way it was written that he just forgot.
Yeah.
And then made a big deal about it afterwards, which caused him not to be able to go on the show anymore. But again, like the movie just kind of like went over the top to make it more of like a movie as opposed to a biography, like.
All right, so I guess let's go around the table. What are the scores we're giving here out of 10?
Out of 10, 6.1.
Wow, that's weird. I was going to say 6.5. I thought you were going to say 6.5 when you said 6 point. But yeah, I'm saying 6.5.
I'll meet you in the middle. I'll do 6.3. All right, so that makes our total average score 6.3, 63%. The reviews here are, for a while, the obviousness and flat-out vulgarity are sort of entertaining, and it might be possible to enjoy the movie as a camp classic if you could ignore the mean-spiritedness that keeps breaking through. That's from Terrence Rafferty at The New Yorker. Dave Kerr at the Chicago Tribune says, hysteria, however skillfully maintained, should never be mistaken for art, a caution that applies equally to Stone and his subject.
Yep.
And last but not least, we have John Hartzell with the Seattle Times saying, insidiously funny and remarkably truthful about the psychedelic rock scene in the late 1960s.
Remarkably truthful. Nah.
Seemed pretty on point to me.
All right, guys, let's get into our suggestions of the week.
Suggestion of the week.
Our suggestion for this week is to check out Remastered, The Two Killings of Sam Cooke, a Sam Cooke story, directed by Kelly Duane. It's just about, his rise to stardom and his untimely death at age 33.
We'll talk about that next week. I was going to say something about it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
All right, so what do we got for our personal suggestions for this week?
I got You God, Golden Arms with Redemption.
Nice.
Check out Rumble.
I'm recommending the 1978 album by Johnny Thunders. The name of the album is So Alone. The hit track off that is You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory.
Nice. And my suggestion for this week is going to check out my personal favorite track off the new Eminem album, Stepdad. The album is Music to Be Murdered To. Right? Is
So
that
you
right?
got, I think it's Music to Be Murdered By.
Yeah.
Music to Be Murdered By.
The You Got album came out in 99 for those curious.
Excellent.
It was the second to last first Wu-Tang solo album. The only guy to put out a first solo album after You God was Master Killer.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys, so that wraps it up this week. This is Rage Against the Mainstream signing off. Once again, you guys can get us on our social medias at RETM Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook.com/RETM Podcast. And as always, our email is open at ratmpodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like to be showcased or spotlighted on our show, please do not hesitate to write us. But once again, this is Rage Against the Mainstream signing off. I'm Bill.
Connor.
Steve.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks for listening.